The stage was set at the Winspear Opera House in Dallas, Texas, for a televised legal panel titled Law, Order, and the Constitution Today. The event, recorded live before an audience of law students, journalists, academics, and political enthusiasts, promised a clash of perspectives. Among the panelists were some of the most recognizable names in law and politics, but all eyes were on two women: Judge Judith Sheindlin, known to millions as Judge Judy, and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a freshman lawmaker from Texas's 30th District. The air crackled with anticipation as the cameras began rolling, and what unfolded would leave the audience stunned, flipping the conversation in ways no one expected. Judge Judy, at 81, was a force of nature. Her decades of courtroom experience and sharp tongue had made her a television icon. Her presence alone commanded attention, her voice carrying the weight of countless cases and a no-nonsense reputation. 3 seats away sat Jasmine Crockett, a former public defender turned politician, her navy blazer crisp and her expression steady. Younger, quieter, but radiating a calm confidence, she wasn't there to chase headlines, she was there to speak from experience. The panel began with polite exchanges, the moderator posing safe questions about the judiciary's role in modern politics. The answers were predictable, polished, until Judge Judy turned her gaze on Jasmine. "Congresswoman Crockett," she said, her tone slicing through the room, "you speak often about justice reform, but tell me, how many felony cases have you personally tried in court? Real court, not the kind with sound bites and press conferences." A ripple of nervous laughter spread through the audience. It was classic Judge Judy, direct, designed to unsettle. Jasmine didn't flinch. "Quite a few," she replied evenly, "including 3 capital murder cases and dozens involving illegal searches, coerced confessions, and juries that didn't reflect the people being judged." Judge Judy raised an eyebrow, clearly expecting less. "Were you successful?" she pressed. Jasmine's response was unflappable. "I kept innocent people out of cages. So yes, I was." The audience shifted, sensing the shift in dynamic. Judge Judy leaned back, tapping her finger against her chair, a telltale sign she wasn't done. The moderator tried to steer the conversation elsewhere, but Judy cut in again. "It's easy to criticize the system," she said, "but I find people without decades of courtroom experience tend to have a lot to say and very little weight behind it. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. Law isn't theory, Congresswoman, it's muscle memory. It's logic, not slogans." The room buzzed. A man in the front row leaned forward, as if watching a sparring match. Jasmine's response was measured but piercing. "With respect, Judge, I know the law because I've used it as a shield, not just a tool. It's not just logic, it's lived experience. People don't fear theory. They fear what happens when the law forgets who it's meant to serve." The words landed like a stone in still water, rippling through the audience. Judge Judy smiled, but it was a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Well," she said, "we'll see how that experience holds up under real scrutiny." The moderator, sensing the tension, pivoted to a question about the Fourth Amendment, hoping to diffuse the spark. "There's been debate about unlawful search and seizure, especially in marginalized communities," he said. "Congresswoman Crockett, your thoughts?" Jasmine adjusted her microphone. "The law doesn't need to adapt, it needs to be obeyed," she said. "The Constitution already prohibits illegal searches. The issue is enforcement and the lack of consequences when those lines are crossed." The law students in the back sat up straighter. Phones were raised discreetly, some already live streaming. Judge Judy wasn't ready to let it go. "Respectfully," she said, her voice calm but pointed, "you're making it sound like the justice system is built to hurt people. That's not true. It's messy, but it's fair most of the time. When people run into trouble, it's because they broke the law." Jasmine's eyes met Judy's unflinching. "Most of the time," she repeated, "but not all. I defended a 17-year-old in Little Rock stopped for walking too slowly, suspicious loitering, they called it. No drugs, no weapon, but he spent 2 nights in jail because the officer didn't like his tone. I represented a woman whose apartment was raided because of a wrong address and a tip. They found nothing but left her toddler barefoot in a hallway while they tore her home apart. She was too scared to file a complaint." The audience murmured, a wave of disbelief rolling through the room. "You think that's rare, but it's not," Jasmine continued. "I've watched judges sign warrants with one eye on the clock, prosecutors treat poverty as proof of guilt. I'm not speaking from theory, Judge. I'm speaking from 10 years of real people and real consequences. Judge Judy's eyes narrowed. Do you believe the law can be impartial? She asked. Jasmine's reply was steady. I believe the law is only as impartial as the people who enforce it. We pretend objectivity exists more often than we practice it. The room fell silent. The hum of the lights and a distant camera clicked the only sounds. A retired teacher in the third row whispered, "She's not wrong." Her neighbor nodded. The moderator tried to regain control, but Judge Judy shifted gears, aiming for precision. "All right, Congresswoman," she said, "you're passionate, but passion and precision aren't the same. What federal case, in your experience, best illustrates your point about enforcement failing the law? It was a trap designed to expose gaps in knowledge." The audience held its breath. Jasmine didn't hesitate. United States v. Jones, 565 U.S. 400, 2012, she said. The government installed a GPS tracker on a suspect's vehicle without a valid warrant and tracked him for 28 days. The D.C. Court of Appeals ruled it an unlawful search under the Fourth Amendment, and the Supreme Court agreed. She turned to face Judy directly. But here's what people miss. The ruling didn't just call the tracking illegal, it reminded law enforcement that physical intrusion, no matter how small, can't bypass constitutional rights. In courtrooms across the country, we see police overreach justified by good faith, as if ignorance of the law is acceptable when it's the state violating it. Jones reminds us that technology doesn't rewrite our protections, it strengthens the need for them. The audience was rapt. Judge Judy's lips tightened. She knew the case but hadn't expected such a precise breakdown, delivered with calm clarity on live television. Jasmine pressed on. I had a client in Texarkana, pulled over for a busted taillight. No warrant, no probable cause, just an officer claiming he smelled marijuana. They tore his car apart, found nothing, but he missed 3 days of work and couldn't make rent. His kids ate noodles for 2 weeks. You won't find that in court transcripts, but it's real every day. Judge Judy counted. You're comparing that to Jones? That's a constitutional ruling, not a sob story. Jasmine's response was unshaken. I'm connecting them. Rulings like Jones mean nothing if people don't know their rights. Legal decisions don't change lives unless someone stands in a courtroom and says, "This is what the Constitution promises, and you can't ignore it because he's poor or scared." Applause erupted, starting from the left side of the auditorium and spreading. Judge Judy raised a hand to quiet the crowd, her smile tight. The moderator, sensing a shift, asked if either woman had more to add. Judy leaned back, crossing her legs, calculating. Jasmine sat still, her point made, her presence unshaken. The conversation moved to courtroom dynamics. Judge Judy pivoted again. Let's talk about the courtroom, she said. How many times have you managed a hostile jury, Congresswoman? Have you ever stood alone, no co-counsel, with 12 people already convinced your client was guilty? Her tone was softer now, almost mentoring, but still testing. Jasmine nodded. Plenty of times. One case in Garland, a young man accused of armed robbery. The public defender before me barely spoke to him. By the time I got the case, the jury was seated, the narrative set. They looked at him like a statistic, face tattoos, hand-me-down clothes. But no one asked why the surveillance footage didn't match the suspect's height or why the eyewitness had cut a deal on another case. She leaned forward, her voice steady. I told the jury, you don't have to like how he looks, just be honest about the evidence. I walked them through every frame, showed how shadows distort shapes, got the officer to admit he never checked the alibi. When the verdict came back not guilty, the judge said nothing. The jurors wouldn't look at me, but my client cried. Not because he was free, but because someone believed him enough to fight. The room was still. Judge Judy tapped her chin. Admirable, she said, but public defenders don't always have time or resources. Jasmine agreed, we don't. But that's the point. When the odds are against you and you still tell the truth, that's when the law matters most. I've seen prosecutors ignore exculpatory evidence to clear their calendar. Judges roll their eyes when I ask to explain rights to a scared teenager. That's not justice, that's machinery.